I am 81 years old, and I have been sitting in this house alone for 6 years now. The quiet used to bother me. Not anymore. I think I have gotten used to it the way you get used to a bad knee. You stop expecting it to feel different. My wife's name was Carol. We were married for 31 years, and I want to tell you something that took me most of my life to understand. Something I couldn't see while it was happening. Something nobody could have told me because I wouldn't have known what they meant. I loved her. I want to say that first. Whatever I tell you after this, I want that part to be clear. I loved her. I just didn't know that love was something you had to show up for. I thought providing was the same thing as being there. I thought working hard was a form of devotion. For 30 years, I believed that. I was wrong. I grew up watching my father leave the house before sunrise and come home after dark. He didn't say much. He sat at the dinner table, he ate, he watched the news, and then he went to bed. That was his life. And nobody questioned it, because the bills were paid, and the refrigerator was full, and we had what we needed. I thought that was what a man did. That was what love looked like. When Carol and I got married in 1974, I was 26 years old. I had a job at a manufacturing company, nothing glamorous, but steady work. I was proud of that. I told myself that as long as I kept showing up, kept earning, kept the house in order, I was doing right by her. She worked too in those early years. We didn't have much, but we were close in the way young couples are when they don't have much. We'd sit on the back steps in the evening and just talk. About nothing. About everything. I remember those evenings. I just didn't know to hold on to them. Then the promotions started coming, and I chased them. Every single one. I told myself it was for us, for the family, for the life we were building. And in some ways that was true. We moved into a bigger house. The kids had their own rooms. Carol didn't have to work anymore if she didn't want to. I saw that as love. I saw that as proof of something. What I didn't see was what I was trading. The absences crept in slowly. A dinner missed here. A weekend trip I had to cancel. School events I meant to attend but couldn't quite make. I always had a reason, a good reason usually, and Carol understood. She was patient in a way I didn't deserve. She raised our 2 children largely on her own, even though I was technically in the house. I was present the way a piece of furniture is present. You're there, but you're not doing anything. I remember one evening, our daughter was maybe 10 years old. She had a recital, piano. She'd been practicing for weeks. I sat through half of it before my pager went off, and I slipped out into the hallway to make a call. I told myself I'd go back in when I was done. I didn't make it back in time. I caught the last 2 minutes. She didn't say anything that night. Neither did Carol. That was the thing. They stopped saying anything after a while. When someone stops telling you what they need, it isn't because they've stopped needing it. It's because they've stopped believing you'll change. And I didn't understand that then. I thought the silence meant everything was fine. We had a language in our house that I didn't learn to read until it was too late. Carol would ask me something simple. Do you want to take a walk tonight? Do you want to go see your mother this weekend? Do you want to try that restaurant downtown? And I would say, maybe. Or, not tonight. Or, let me see how the week goes. Maybe was the word I used most. I didn't realize it was the word that was slowly hollowing her out. There were good stretches, don't misunderstand me. Vacations that were real. Holidays that felt warm. Moments when we were genuinely close. But I treated those as proof that things were fine, when really they were just pauses between the long silences. In my 50s, I started to slow down at work. The company downsized. My role changed. I had more time at home than I'd had in 20 years. I thought we'd just pick up where we left off. But there was no where we left off. That place didn't exist anymore. Carol had built a life in the space I'd left empty. Her friendships, her routines, her sense of herself that had nothing to do with me. She wasn't bitter about it. She was just somewhere else. Somewhere I hadn't thought to go with her. We started having conversations that felt like strangers being polite, careful, surface level. And I kept thinking it was a phase. I kept thinking we just needed a trip, a project, something to bring us back together. I didn't understand that you can't come back to something you never fully built. She told me she was leaving on a Tuesday morning in March. There was no screaming. That's what I remember most. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, and she spoke quietly. And she told me she had been unhappy for a long time, and that she didn't think it would change, and that she needed the years she had left to feel like something. I sat there, and I didn't say anything for a long time. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain myself. I had 1,000 reasons lined up, all the things I had done, all the ways I had worked and provided and tried. But I looked at her face, and I understood something. Not fully, not yet, but the beginning of it. She wasn't angry. That was the most devastating part. She was just tired and sad, and somewhere far away from me already. She moved into an apartment across town. The kids were grown by then. They had their own lives. I stayed in the house. The first winter alone was something I won't try to describe in a way that sounds like anything other than what it was. It was empty. Every room was full of something I had taken for granted. I started remembering things I hadn't thought about in years. The way she laughed at something unexpected. How she could tell when something was wrong before I could. The sound of her in the kitchen in the morning. I had lived with those things for 31 years and treated them like furniture. Background noise. Something that would just always be there. She died 4 years after the divorce. A stroke. Sudden. She didn't suffer, the doctors said. I went to the funeral. I sat in the back. The kids were kind to me. Her friends were not unkind, but they didn't know what to do with me. I was the man who hadn't been there, and everyone in that room knew it. And so did I. I stood at the grave and I thought about all the evenings I had come home late to a plate of food covered in plastic wrap on the counter. All the times she had waited for me to finish the call, finish the project, finish being somewhere else. All the maybes I had given her. There are no more maybes now. That's the part I carry. I don't tell you this to make you feel sorry for me. I made my choices. I understood what I was doing in the moment, even if I didn't understand the cost. What I want you to hear is this. I thought I was showing her love by working. I thought the house, the security, the things I provided were proof of how much I cared. And maybe in some small way they were. but they were not the same as sitting beside her on a Sunday morning with nowhere to be. They were not the same as asking her how she felt and meaning it. They were not the same as being there. Providing is not the same as loving. I cannot say that plainly enough. You can give someone everything they need and still leave them alone. I know that now. I learned it too late to do anything with it. I'm not telling you to stop working or to sacrifice what you've built. That's not the point. The point is the Tuesday evenings, the ordinary hours, the walks you keep saying you'll take next week, the conversations that don't feel urgent because everything seems fine. Everything seems fine until it doesn't. And by the time you understand what was happening, the person may already be gone. Not always through death. Sometimes just through a long and quiet withdrawal that you didn't notice until the table was empty. I live alone in this house. I have my health, more or less. My children call. I have things to be grateful for. But the house is quiet, and I know exactly why. If any part of this sat with you today, I'd ask you to just stay with it for a little while. Not to do anything, just to notice the people around you who are still here, still present, still waiting to be seen. That's all. That's all I have.